Of electronic dance music died Friday. Avicii, whose real name was Tim Bergling, was 28 years old. His publicist says the Swedish DJ and producer died in Muscat, Oman.
A shocking and intense details came to light about Avicii's tragic death, painting a grim picture of his final days. Avicii, a beloved DJ whose music reached across the globe, secretly grappled with crushing pressures that few could see. This revelation forces us to confront the hidden, harsh realities of celebrity life. What exactly did Avicii face in the shadow of his success? Tune in as we dive into the specific pressures that overwhelm one of music's brightest stars, a tale of fame and fragility. In this presentation, we talk about the professional and personal life of Tim Bergling, known to the world as Avicii. He was a famous Swedish DJ, remixer, and music producer. We'll explore the events that led to his tragic death and try to understand what made him step away from life too soon. He was loved by fans all over the world, and his sudden passing made many wonder if the pressures of fame became too much for him. As we explore Avicii's story, one crucial question lingers. What hidden costs of his success did we not see until it was too late? He was seen as a musical genius and was at the top of his career when he died by his own hand. He was born on September 8, 1989, in Stockholm, Sweden. His parents were Claes Bergling, who ran an office supply business, and Anki Leiden, who was an actress. Tim grew up with three siblings, David Bergling, Linda Sterner, and actor Anton Korberg. His journey into music began when he was just 8 years old, trying to mix tunes in his bedroom, a small interest that turned into a lifelong passion. His older brother, who was also a DJ, inspired him to create his own music when he was 16, using a simple version of music software called FL Studio. In May 2007, his career took off when he signed with Dejfit's Plays label. He joined online forums like those run by DJ Laidback Luke, which helped him learn and perfect his deep house music style. Between 2009 and 2010, he made a name for himself by releasing songs and remixes that caught the attention of music fans around the world. His stage name means the lowest level of Buddhist hell. He chose it because his real name was already taken when he tried to set up a MySpace page. His big break came in 2010 with the track Seek Bromance, which hit the top charts in many countries, including Belgium, France, the Netherlands, the UK, and Sweden. His remix of Nadia Ali's Rapture made people realize he was a unique talent. But things took a turn in 2011 when Leona Lewis released a track called Collide, which used parts of his song Fade into Darkness without giving him credit. It turned into a legal fight, but was settled outside of court, allowing both artists to release the song together. His talent was further recognized in 2012 when he got a Grammy nomination for his collaboration with David Guetta on the track Sunshine. In 2013, he introduced new tracks from his upcoming album, True, at the Ultra Music Festival in Miami. Some people didn't like the album's experimental sound, but it showed he wasn't afraid to push musical boundaries. He also shared a promo mix on SoundCloud, giving fans a sneak peek of True and hinting at new songs. But this wasn't the end of his creative journey. By 2014, he had made 70 new tracks for his next album, Stories, working with big names like Jon Bon Jovi, Serj Tankian, Chris Martin, Wyclef Jean, and Matisyahu. He said Stories was more focused on songwriting and showed how he was growing as an artist. In 2017, British singer Rita Ora introduced Lonely Together at a private event in London. This was one of the songs from his EP. After some teasers on Instagram, he finally released the EP, which had 6 new tracks, making it a long-awaited return. He seemed excited about this comeback, hinting that his new music would mix his signature electronic style with fresh, new sounds. Now, let's see what was happening behind the scenes. The hidden struggles of a music icon. Even with all his success, he faced intense pressures and struggled with his mental health. His story shows us that sometimes the weight of fame and expectations can become too much, even for someone at the top of their game. Fans have anticipated some songs for a long time, while others are fresh, adding an unexpected twist. But the road wasn't easy for him. After he stopped touring, he turned to transcendental meditation to manage his anxiety and started seeing a therapist. Even though he looked okay on the outside, he was quietly dealing with a lot of challenges. The constant pressure from his management and fans to keep performing took a toll on his mental health and contributed to his tragic end, as reported by GQ. He was sensitive to criticism and took it hard when he had to cancel shows. His manager, Arash Pornouri, knew about his struggles but didn't recognize them as mental health issues at first. By the end of 2014, his team noticed he had problems with painkillers and tried to step in, but it didn't work. Pornouri changed some events around to let him recover in Stockholm and even removed alcohol from his minibar to support him. But it was tough to keep track of his progress when no one was around during his healing time. In 2014, his manager, Ash Pornouri, had a serious talk with his father, Klaus Bergling. The meeting was about something very important, his health and his mental state. At the time, there were growing worries about how he was handling the fast-paced and demanding music world. He was a superstar in electronic dance music, EDM, creating hit songs that people loved. But behind all the success, he was struggling with deep exhaustion and anxiety that most people didn't see. His rise to fame was quick. His songs like Wake Me Up and Hey Brother were not just hits, they became global anthems. With his talents, he helped make EDM more popular and brought it into the mainstream. But with all this success came a heavy price. The pressure to keep performing, creating new music, and constantly being in the spotlight took a toll on him. Even though he looked happy on stage, it was clear to those close to him that something was very wrong. This all became heartbreakingly real in April of 2018 when Avicii passed away unexpectedly in Muscat, Oman. He was only 28 years old. The news shocked not only his fans, but the entire music community. People couldn't believe that someone so young and successful could be gone so suddenly. At first, no one knew the cause of his death, and there was a lot of confusion and speculation. But later, his family shared the tragic news. Avicii had taken his own life. But this wasn't the worst part. When his family, his parents, 2 sisters, and a brother went to Oman to bring him back home, they had to face the reality of losing him forever. They were heartbroken and overwhelmed. Yet in the middle of their grief, they took a moment to thank his fans. They expressed how much the support, love, and tributes from people around the world meant to them. It was a comfort, however small, during an incredibly painful time. As fans cheered, his personal struggles remained hidden, remembering Avicii's legacy. The response from fans was moving. Church bells rang out his song, Wake Me Up, in several cities, and people held moments of silence. Fans lit candles, gathered in public places, and shared messages of support. It was clear that Avicii's music had touched people deeply. But while his family appreciated the love, they also asked for some privacy to deal with their loss. They wanted to remember Tim, not just as a famous artist, but as a son, a brother, and a person who brought light to their lives. The story didn't end there. After his passing, there was a lot of talk about how hard it can be for artists in the music industry. The pressure, constant touring, and lack of proper mental health support are all serious issues. It made people think more about what needs to change to prevent this from happening again. Avicii's death wasn't just a tragedy for his family and fans. It became a wake-up call for the whole industry. But the real turning point came with his family's response. They didn't just stay silent. Instead, they decided to speak out. They created foundations in his memory to raise awareness about mental health and to help others facing similar struggles. They turned their grief into a mission to make a difference and to show the world that mental health needs to be taken seriously, especially for those in high-pressure careers. Through their work, they want to ensure that Avicii's story helps others. They hope his legacy is not only about his music, but also about pushing for a kinder, more supportive environment for everyone. Avicii's life, though short, made an impact, and now his family is making sure his death also leads to positive change. It's a reminder that success and fame can sometimes hide deep pain, and that everyone deserves the help and support they need to be healthy and happy. But that wasn't the end of the story. As they processed their grief, Avicii's family opened up more about his struggles. They described him as a sensitive, creative person who was always searching for answers and striving to do his best, which often caused him a lot of stress. After he stopped touring, he tried hard to find a balance that would let him keep making music without the overwhelming pressure. But the challenges were too much, and he continued to struggle. In the end, Avicii's story is a reminder of how difficult it can be for artists to handle fame and constant pressure. Despite his success and talent, he fought hard with his mental health behind the scenes. Even when he stepped back to focus on getting better, the weight of expectations didn't go away. It's a tragic example of how important it is to support those who are struggling, even when everything seems fine on the surface. Tim felt like he couldn't take the pressure anymore. He wanted some peace and realized the fast-paced world of his career wasn't for him. Even though he appreciated his fans, he preferred to stay out of the spotlight. Tim, you'll always be remembered. Your music and spirit will live on forever. We love you, his family said. According to CNN, 2 investigations were done, and the police confirmed there was no foul play involved in his death. The first announcement of Tim's passing read, "With great sadness, we share that Tim Bergling, known as Avicii, passed away in Muscat, Oman, on the afternoon of April 20th. His family, overwhelmed by grief, asked for privacy and chose not to say anything more publicly at the time. After the applause, it was time for a quiet goodbye, remembering Avicii's private goodbye. In June, Tim Bergling, known to the world as Avicii, was laid to rest in a small private ceremony in Sweden. Only close family and friends gathered in Stockholm to say their goodbyes to an artist who had such a huge impact on the music world. This quiet gathering was very different from the big crowds and loud music that were a regular part of Avicii's career. A friend, Jesse, shared a picture of the program from the ceremony. It showed Tim Bergling, 1989, 2018, surrounded by music notes, a reminder of how much music shaped his life. Meanwhile, fans across the world were struggling to cope with the loss of an artist who had helped shape the sound of modern electronic music. Avicii's music was known around the globe, and his influence went beyond just Sweden. Songs like Wake Me Up, Levels, and Hey Brother were loved by many. His music was unique because it mixed different styles, had catchy melodies, and deep emotions that connected with people. His songs spoke about love, struggle, and finding oneself. Even though he became famous very quickly, his death at only 28 brought an abrupt end to a career that had already made a permanent mark on music. The funeral in June was simple and reflected who he was away from the spotlight. It was not about the big lights and crowds he was used to during concerts. Instead, it focused on his personal side, the son, the friend, and the creative person he was. It took place in a small church in Stockholm with just close friends and family, as his parents, Claes Bergling and Anki Leiden, wished for a peaceful and private goodbye. Jesse, his friend, paid tribute by sharing a photo of the funeral program that simply read, Tim Bergling, 1989, 2018, encircled by music notes, a quiet nod to his lifelong connection to music. This small ceremony gave those who knew Tim personally a chance to remember him without the public or media around. They could reflect on his life as more than just a famous DJ. They remembered him as a young man who was thoughtful and kind, yet struggled with the pressures that came with fame. It was a sharp contrast to the big crowds that had gathered at Coachella, where just a few weeks earlier, fans paid tribute to his memory. But this wasn't the only way people remembered him. At Coachella, his impact was felt on a much bigger scale. Thousands of fans wore shirts with his name and logo. During the event, DJ Cow played some of Avicii's most popular songs in his honor. The crowd responded with an outpouring of emotion, holding up lights and phones to show unity and support. It was a moment that showed just how deeply Avicii's music had touched people's hearts. The tribute at Coachella was one of many. All over the world, people gathered in nightclubs, festivals, and small events to honor him. His passing also sparked discussions about the intense pressure and mental health issues artists often face. This wasn't just about losing a talented musician, but about recognizing how hard it can be to balance creativity and the demands of the industry. The news of Avicii's death shook the music world. He wasn't just any artist, he was seen as someone who helped electronic music reach a much wider audience. Many colleagues and fellow musicians took to social media to express their shock and sadness. His music publisher, Sony ATV Music Publishing, released a statement saying, "We are deeply saddened by the loss of such a talented artist. Our thoughts are with his family during this very difficult time. His public life ended, but his personal impact lives on, remembering Avicii's global influence. Musicians from around the world shared their memories of working with him. DJs and producers like Calvin Harris, Zed and Tiesto talked about his generosity, passion, and special talent for connecting with people. Calvin Harris called him a beautiful soul, passionate and extremely talented, while David Guetta tweeted, "Something really horrible happened. We lost a friend with such a beautiful heart, and the world lost an incredibly talented musician." But these messages weren't just about mourning a friend. They also showed how important Avicii was in shaping dance music. He didn't just change how people thought about electronic music, he inspired a new generation of musicians from many different genres, including pop, folk, and rock. His music was more than just songs to dance to, it was a unique experience. Avicii had a way of combining the technical side of electronic music with the storytelling style of folk and pop. Songs like Wake Me Up are a perfect example. It mixed country-style melodies with strong dance beats, which made it stand out. This creative blend pushed electronic music in new directions, opening doors for others to explore similar styles. But it wasn't just his musical style that made him special. His songs often carried messages of hope and encouragement. Tracks like The Nights and Waiting for Love inspired people to embrace life and chase their dreams. Even as he dealt with his own struggles, Avicii's music shared messages of positivity and self-discovery, creating a bond with fans that went deeper than just enjoying the tunes. But this wasn't the toughest part for Avicii. As his fame grew, so did the pressure. His death highlighted the mental health struggles many artists face. Behind the glamorous image, there were exhausting tours, pressure to create hit after hit, and a loss of personal space. Fans supported his decision, but it also showed just how intense the music industry can be. Even though he stopped performing, he kept creating music, driven by his need to express himself. Yet his passing reminded everyone of how fame and success can take a heavy toll on mental health. Today, Avicii's influence can still be felt through his music. His songs are played at festivals, clubs, and personal gatherings, keeping his legacy alive. In 2019, his posthumous album, Tim, was released, showing the world just how creative and talented he was. But the real legacy he left behind wasn't just in his music. His story has started conversations about mental health in the industry. Fans and musicians are now more open to talking about their challenges and seeking help. There are even organizations set up in his name to raise awareness and support those struggling with mental health. The small private funeral in Stockholm might have been quiet, but Avicii's impact is anything but small. His contributions to music, his courage to speak out, and his openness about his own struggles have left a lasting impression. As fans and fellow artists continue to celebrate his life, it's clear that Avicii's legacy will live on, not just in the music he made, but in the conversations he started and the people he inspired. Many famous artists like Calvin Harris, Madonna, Skrillex, David Guetta, Diplo, Steve Aoki, Dua Lipa, Marshmello, Liam Payne, Craig David, and Charlie Puth shared their tributes, showing how much Tim's music touched people around the world. What do you think Avicii would have achieved if he had not faced such personal struggles? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.